Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Grow Big TV.
We're finally live.
Just let you guys know, StreamYard's having issues today. We're clicking go live, go live, go live. And what's happening? Nothing. They said, well, try again in 60 seconds because we have high volume. So how about that? So who's in the chat? We have Jennifer Ocean Homestead, Jay Dixon, LP's here, David Gray, Rick from Australia. Awesome. We have Serena, Kaylin Strain, Lonnie Hawley. So we're seeing who else is in the chat right now. This is going to be an awesome live. Hope you guys learn a lot today. Nothing like having a scientist on, a biologist, a plant biologist, scientist. You know, this is going to be, we're going to learn a lot. We might agree on some things and disagree on some things too. But you know what? That's okay because we're all here to learn. We want to learn. That's what we want to do. We want to grow together. So Lonnie is Yannick's father-in-law. No pressure. No pressure. The pressure definitely is on Yannick. David Johnson is here. Okay, guys. So before we have Yannick come on, I want to show you something special. And this is when Yannick proposed to Meredith. And it's over a Hummingbird cover song. And I think this is really awesome. Welcome, everybody in the chat. Look at Meredith. I love that. I love watching her when Yannick is playing this. Welcome in, Kathleen Moran. Just be patient, guys. It's all a build-up. This is a great build-up. Gotta love the build. Welcome in, Honey Heritage Farms, Mark Brownlee. Telling us to build up, guys.
We have come so far, have become so close, and 3 years have gone by so fast, but many years are yet to come. 5,000 miles away from me, but here we are, you and I. Some call it luck, some call it destiny, I call it life, and it's worth a try. Meredith, mon amour, I love you. You make my heart so happy. So here is my question to you. Meredith, will you marry me? Sure.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. Mm.
I think that's so awesome. I love watching that. It's special times. And today's another special day. Today is Corky's birthday. So happy
Yay!
birthday to Corky. Woohoo!
Officially old today.
So we have a lot of people watching on LinkedIn today, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. So it's going to be a lot of people coming on together. So our guest is Yannick Favre. So Yannick is a plant scientist. He brings a wealth of knowledge and passion to the field. He's trained as an entomologist. Yannick has also a background in lab science and a deep connection to agriculture. Interestingly, Yannick grew up on a dairy farm in France. So that's really cool, which was owned by his grandparents. Now they're dedicated to sustainable practices and fostering community through their work. So right now we're going to welcome in Yannick Favre. Welcome in.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm on stage. Very, very nice. It's nice.
I love the background. I absolutely love the background.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's you're in Dexter's laboratory. So my dog is named Dexter, and if you know of Dexter's Laboratory, the TV show, then you can relate to this.
I could definitely relate. So, with your grandparents' farm in France, now tell, like, when you were growing up, did you live with your grandparents? Did you?
We were living in the same town, so it was a very small town up in the mountains of France, and I was not living on the farm. I was living with my parents, but I was on the farm all the time. Yeah, a dairy cow operation, about 30 cows, so it's a fairly small number if you think about it, but it was a very special operation because in that area of France, you're allowed to make this very specific cheese just because of the area you're in. It's called the terroir, so it's location, and so the milk has a premium value there because it goes to this very specific cooperative cheese making business, and so we were doing okay with back in the days. Yeah, it was a good time.
Now, did you always live in France, or are you from?
I was born in France and I grew up in the mountains, and then I went to the university in Lyon, which is the second or third largest city, depending on how you look at it, in France. And then after that, I came to the US about 13 years ago. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Now, did you also grow? What kind of food did you grow in France?
So
you had cows, but did you grow food too there?
Yeah, so we grew food for the cows. That was the business we were in, was the milk operation for that cheese, and so we grew food for the cows. Yeah, we did have gardens, of course, because if you have a farm, you have a garden, and you can feed yourself. And we had chickens and the usual on the farm. And so, yeah, we farming in France is very similar to small scale farming in the US. It's sustainable. It's all the good things that we like to hear about farming.
Now, I like what Dirty Wood said. Anyone with a plant tissue culture lab in a background should be taken seriously. I love that.
Good eye, because not everybody knows what this piece of equipment is right here. It's called a laminar flow hood, and what it does, it filters the air. What you see, the white part is the filter. It's a HEPA filter, and so it blows sterile air to your face, so you can work in a sterile environment. Good eye.
Nice.
Now, with your plants in the background, and like if you have aphids or any kind of problems, what do you do? What do you use? How do you get rid of them? How do you help not have them? Do you put sand on top of your plants?
Yeah.
What do you do?
Right here in Dexter's lab, the issue I have are going to be fungus gnats mostly.
Right.
And the plants, I don't know if you can tell, but they're mostly succulents, so I don't overwater them at all. So that helps with the fungus gnats. And I do have a couple of plants that like to have wet feet, so that's where I get my flies from. And I have sticky cards, the yellow sticky cards to monitor and slaughter as many as we can, So.
What made you want to do this? Not a lot of people are interested in plant life. They're not really interested in biology. So what made you want to do this? What influenced you?
Well, it's definitely back to my roots, where I grew up and where I'm from, the countryside of France, where you're away from the big cities, and agriculture is a big part. So I grew up in that environment, and it stuck with me for years. And I was finally able to find my way to the university doing studying agronomy, so the science behind agriculture, which I thought was a good way to go about it, because I love plants, I loved animals, and I love science. So agronomy, I think, is a field that is very interesting when you have the science mindset. And so working with plants stuck with me throughout my studies, because it was a heavy plant-based, crop-based, and also perennial plants and ornamentals, but mostly crops. And that's where I found my career, working for a big company. I'll say their name because it's a great company. It's called Bayer Crop Science, and they do a lot in healthcare and agriculture. And I joined their team when I was an intern, and I decided to keep going with them, and they decided to keep me going with them. So I was very fortunate to land a job right out of college with this company and do plant research. So tissue culture heavy, soybean mostly, soybean and corn, because let's be honest, that's where the money is, and doing research is expensive. So you need to work on the things that bring money back. So we were soybean and corn. And after 3 years of doing that, they decided to send me to the US because we were doing so great. And the market for soybean and corn is in the US and South America. So I was relocated. I was 23 years old, and I left everybody behind, and I came to the United States. I bought my Mustang, nice V6 Mustang, black with white stripes. It was beautiful. I did my dream there, and I kept going with soybean. What I was doing was soybean genetic transformation. So basically creating GMOs in the lab for field trials, and then put it on the market later as a crop. So
yeah, you hear a lot about it, a lot of negative about GMOs. What's the positive side to researching the development of GMOs on soybeans?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I've struggled with it myself personally. But as a scientist, when you look at GMOs, you see the beauty that is in the science behind it, meaning you're able to very accurately insert a gene into a plant. So just that is mind-blowing to me. And when you understand the concept behind the GMO thing, like, for example, disease resistance or insect resistance, or others that are less I don't know, herbicide tolerance is a big one that is not as appealing to people usually, but it's not that complicated and it's not that scary once you understand how it's done and how it works. And I can give you a simple example. For example, insect tolerance in soybean or corn is using the Bt bacteria that is used in organic agriculture. You've heard of Bt to fight mosquitoes and all kinds of pests. Well, what they did is take the gene that is responsible for the toxicity of the Bt, which is it creates little crystals in the guts of the insects and the insects die. It's very specific to the guts of the insect. And so they took that gene that's responsible for that and put it in the corn and soybean. Now, what happens is only when the insect is going to chew on that plant, it's going to die. It's not going to, affect the pollinators and things like that. So it's specific to those chewing insects. And I think it's a cool story. It also is a powerful one because it's really the point where science meets the need of the farmer on a large scale. Okay. So we're talking large scale crop production here. So it's not good.
Do you just do the study of these plants, or do you actually help develop the seeds for these plants as well?
So I was responsible for creating those plants in the lab and then putting them through the greenhouse. My wife was the entomologist on staff, and so she would feed my plants to her stink bugs or caterpillars, and then she would tell me, okay, this one worked and this one didn't. And so then it was not just me, it was a whole team of scientists, and they were then compiling the data and making sure we would push through the interesting plants we had.
So was it actually successful in killing stink bugs?
Not the stink bugs.
Damn.
Darn
I'm sorry.
stink bug.
I hate stink bugs, and for some reason they just love my attic, and they come in through my bedroom. They come into my bedroom, and I constantly have stink bug carcasses everywhere. They're so obnoxious. So
yeah, and in soybean they're a big pest because they are sucking insects. So they're gonna go after the pods and eat the seeds, and so it's a huge yield decrease. And so ideally you could control them without using pesticides. For example, GMOs could be a solution to do that if you could find something that kills the stink bugs in the plant, but it's not done yet. Stink bugs are very hard to kill.
now, so since you haven't killed these and they're still eating the soybeans and possibly the soybeans that are GMO, are you creating a super bug by doing this?
Super bugs are what you would call like resistant bugs. Technically, is what you see out there is bugs that have become resistant to certain methods of control, whether it's a regular pesticide or if it's a GMO. And so the project that I was working on had multiple genes involved, and that prevents or delays the appearance of a resistant population of insects.
Okay.
So because in science, you learn from your mistakes, and we see resistance in weeds, resistance to Roundup in weeds, you see resistance to Bt and insects. And so you think about it, and then it's not a profitable model if your product is going to become useless within a couple of years. So they made sure that we had a strategy that worked well. But the stink bugs didn't budge at all. So they're not going to become super bugs. They're not that crazy. Yeah.
Now, I heard a quote once that when a nuclear apocalypse happens, you'll have two things that are left. One was share and one was cockroaches, and the other one is going to be stink bugs.
Probably.
Because we're never going to get rid of them. Like, it doesn't matter what you do to them.
No, and they feed on everything. Yeah, they're very generalist.
How about the Chinese lanternfly? That's invaded New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and moving all over the place in the woods.
Yeah, that is. If it's a bug that attacks, trees and bushes and things, then how do you control it? Because you can't spray everything. You can't make a GMO tree that easy. It's feasible, but it takes years. And these bugs are fast, and they're already in our backyard. So that's one that worries me a lot. Yeah, the lanternfly for sure.
I tell you, I'm up in my we drove to Philly when this all came because my son was at shop, right? And the lanternfly was on a 7th floor on it up top of the 7 floors. How did they get there? You
Yeah.
know, I went to a Rutgers football game 2 years ago when it all started. They're in the upper deck, laying on a concrete, not even in the woods. They're in a stadium. I'm like, how did they get there? So it's been it's so invasive. When they come. They just, you can't get rid of them.
Yeah. There's a lot of different stories like that, unfortunately, throughout history, where bugs showed up somehow, usually because of us, and then they take over. And plants, kudzu, and invasive plants too. Yeah, not just bugs.
See, Yannick, what I'm really afraid about is like when science gets too overwhelming and we try to do too much.
Yes, sir.
And when we do too much, because hey, we try this, hey, maybe we could do this, maybe we could do that. Like Elaine Ingram, and when she got fired from her job because she was talking about I forgot what the task she was on to, but she goes, stop. There was this huge thing where there's this huge product about spraying this stuff in the field. And she came across, no, don't do it. Don't do it. And for some reason, she got fired because she said that.
Mm-hmm.
And what it turned out, everything what they were trying to do killed all the fields. Everything turned dead. And so, just a little case here. You have the queen of compost, the queen of the soil.
Mm-hmm.
And here they're doing a project. And hey, keep on doing it. It's all this money's put into it. And then everything's dead. And everything starts with the soil, with life in the soil.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes,
And so,
sir.
and that's what I'm afraid about with GMOs and all this other stuff. We're killing the soil. And that's what this is what's great to have you on, because we got to all learn, because there is benefits, huge benefits. But at the same time,
and a lot of people have explained to me that GMOs are important to the fact that, for instance, papayas, they're being decimated by disease and stuff like that. So if you can create a GMO papaya that can resist that, then we are actually saving the trees. So I kind of understand that concept of it.
Yeah. It's what I was saying about the science. It's like being able to modify the genes of a plant is an important discovery, and it helped in many cases, like the papaya, like you said. It's a great story that they saved it from the virus, literally. And so there's other cases like that where we could do, like, the bananas are pretty threatened, and there's issues with all that. So, but the issue that I have with it is the model of monoculture and cropping huge areas of land with one single type of plant that is GMO or not, for that matter. And I think if you like diversity, then you miss the point. And so it's just a problem, but it's not an easy one to fix, because you need all this corn and soy, although, we don't eat it necessarily personally, but the food that we eats it, cows, and, it's part of the system. So it's a very complicated question to say, are GMOs good or bad? But I like I said, the science is pretty. The use of it is going to depend on the corporations and who has access to it, because it takes a lot of money to develop those products.
See, I'm a believer in GMOs, but for inside cultures, hydroponically. I mean, like for example, the purple tomato. You
Yes,
know,
sir. Yeah.
if it was inside, I'm a little more for it. Outside, I'm not, because what is it doing to other plants? What is it other bringing in?
Mhm.
What kind of pest are you? Yeah, it's pest resistant now, but what pest is it two,
Yeah.
3 years from now? What happens to
And that
all
kind of brings me to the next question. How will these GMOs affect our regular heirloom seeds? And if that is the case, specifically that if the purple tomato is licensed, how would the spreading of the pollen from one purple tomato to, say, a Cherokee purple, and if somebody wanted to sell their seeds or give away their seeds, what are the issues that can cause?
Yeah, it's a good question because I have some purple tomatoes here myself at the house. I got three that germinated. It was not too super expensive seeds, but I only planted 4 seeds and I got 3 plants, and that's plenty. But I don't have other tomatoes next to it because I'm not sure um, once the pollination happens if you get cross contamination, like you mentioned. And then the following generation of tomatoes, so the plants you get after that, so the following year could potentially be a cross between your heirloom tomato and the purple tomato, which I don't think it's not the end of the world. I'll be honest, because it's gonna make a tomato plant that's probably gonna be a little purple in the first generation, and then after that, it's gonna get lost. It's not a trait. It's not what we call a trait. So the purple is the trait. It's not a trait that's going to resist evolution. The plant is not going to go out there and become. It doesn't have an advantage over other tomatoes, and it's been bred by humans, and so it needs us.
I think
So
a
it's
lot of people, especially just your regular Joe and Jane gardeners, I think what they're scared about with the purple tomato and other GMOs is it cross-pollinating with the heirloom seeds and then it completely wiping them out. And then all we have left are GMOs, and we can't do anything with them because they're licensed. I think that is a big scare with just your average farmer, your average person that's your backyard gardener. What do you have to say about that specifically? And can you ease the mind of those backyard gardeners?
I would say it's not something to be scared of. It's just one plant that has a couple genes in it that make it rich in antioxidant. It's not a monster. But if you were to be looking for seed production, you're maintaining heirloom tomatoes in your garden year after year, and you don't want to contaminate it, then you should be spacing out your tomatoes so that and I wonder how many people out there are into heirlooms and GMOs at the same time. But
yeah, I'm curious.
But it's just a matter of spacing the tomatoes out, and then you won't have an issue with cross contamination.
So this is great. This is a great discussion because more people need to talk about this stuff, the good, bad. Because everybody has their groups,
Yeah,
and it's all they talk about it. I want to keep on learning, and I think a lot of people here want to do the same. Now, have you tasted the purple tomato?
yeah. I
What did you
have.
think?
I think it's pretty tasty. It's actually not bad at all. It's not a blow your mind flavor like you would have with certain other tomatoes, but it's a good cherry tomato, and it's very appealing visually. And I know its shelf life is longer than a normal tomato because it's rich in antioxidants, which are good for you. So, I don't know if you knew, but the genes that they used are from the snapdragon plant.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's not like they introduced something from another weird bug or something. It's just a snapdragon color pigment. And so they made a tomato that was purple. And if you look at it this way, I think it's kind of cool to grow it and then enjoy the science behind it.
Now the petunia, I think that's pretty cool. But at the same time, I would grow that inside. That'd be cool, pretty cool to grow that inside. Shut all these lights off, and all of a sudden you see glow in the dark petunia plant right behind me. I think that'd be pretty cool. Could that?
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Joe. Go ahead.
Could you actually do that? Like, would if I shut these lights off, would the glow in the dark petunia plant glow?
You see it in the dark. Yeah, I won't say that it glows as in it lights up the room and your face, and actually
It'd be neon colors.
I'll be honest with you. When I received the plants and I put them in the dark, I was a little disappointed. It's not that amazing, but it is amazing because of the science behind it. And so that's why I decided to get those plants. And if you let your eyes adjust to the darkness, then you see a beautiful green petunia, and it has different areas glow differently. The flowers are more shiny, and the buds, the leaves not so much. So it's a very unique experience to see it. They were smart enough to send them to me as they had all the flowers on them, but now it's faded away. So my glow in the dark petunia is not that bright anymore. So it's one of those. Like I said, I was not super impressed with the shine.
Now I have something to add to this question prior to as well. Do you, with the purple tomato, say for instance, I'm using it outside and I want like a field of purple tomatoes. Do you have to use chemicals with it because it is a GMO, or is this different from like your corn and your soybean crops?
No, you would care for that tomato the same way you care for another tomato. The only thing that's different is that pigment from the snapdragon. So they didn't put any, bug resistance, or because everything gets more complicated as you put more things into it. It takes longer. So I think by doing just a color, they were able to kind of fast track their project and then reach the market like this year, which was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I heard they were in certain grocery stores now from reading up on a little bit more on it. So it's starting to get out there.
Yeah.
So
if you can, I'd say you try them just for fun. Even if you're against GMOs, it's a fun tasting tomato, and just to say, hey, I ate a GMO today.
So LP has a question. Do you see the concern that GMOs could encourage continued use of chemicals instead of shifting the focus to soil health?
Yeah, so it's a good question, and I think it's because it's related to the fact that there's a system out there where crops are grown a certain way, and it comes with a package of techniques and methods that you have to use with those seeds to make them grow well. So it's the system that is, I think, problematic, and GMOs on a large scale in a large field of monoculture is not going to be good for the soil. And that's the end of the, it's what it is. But
thank you for actually saying that, because I don't think people get that either. Like they hear. Now I'm one of those people, by the way. GMOs do scare the shit. I mean, they scared the crap out of me. But thank you for explaining that to people, because I don't think they really know. And that I think people really actually need to hear that. They need to have a little more of an open mind.
Mm-hmm. I would say to people, like, don't be afraid of GMOs. You can eat GMOs and you're not gonna become a monster. Like this, it's really not that. It's not a problem for humans, for plants, for animals, but used in a system where you grow corn on soy year after year, and irrigate everything and use the fertilizers and use the pesticides with it, then you're not doing a great thing for the soil, because it's going to be depleted and burnt out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the soil. Just the soil. If you screw up your soil, you screw up the ocean. You don't have life. Period.
Yeah.
And that's what seems. That's what we're all doing. We're all using all these chemicals and stuff on our grass, on our yards, on our vegetables, and scaring the crap out of me because too many bad things are happening in the world right now. Anyway, David Johnson from LinkedIn goes, I want a salsa tomato, spicy, garlic, maybe some cilantro leaves, throw it in the blender, and boom! Boom. I love that you use that phrase.
Yeah, Dave the Great, he's my friend, and I'm glad he made this comment, because we like to eat good food when we get together, and this little salsa idea here makes me hungry.
Gotta love salsa. LP says, I met a beekeeper who said his neighbor grew a GMO pumpkin and it messed his bees up, dozens of hives. They produced little honey. When his neighbor stopped the GMO, his bees' performance improved.
Okay, so I have a question here, because there's no such thing as a GMO pumpkin on the market. Yeah. So it's probably going to be, I don't know, maybe chemicals, use of chemicals that messed up the bees, or a disease that came in, but there's no such thing as a GMO pumpkin. So it's
and that just makes people just sound ignorant. Like
it's well, because there's very few GMOs out there. Let's be clear. There's very, very few. It's going to be corn. It's going to be soy. It's going to be things you don't eat, like cotton. But now it's your tomato, because somebody decided to make a purple tomato. But it's not going to be your carrots and your grapes and like all those crops that are not huge scale crops.
So it's basically your crops that have to be mass produced.
Yeah, because it's so expensive.
Many things, like soybeans, wheat, all that stuff. It has to be. It's basically in everything that we eat and drink.
And so there's a lot of demand for it. So there's a lot of money involved. So there's research that happens that goes towards those crops. But you're not going to see a GMO strawberry anytime soon, because it wouldn't be profitable.
Now, how do you feel about the new GMO bean that is out? It's a bean that has been genetically modified for pork. It has pork in it. Why does it have it in there, and why is this happening? And
I don't know. I haven't heard of this one. You said it's a bean that has pork in it?
Mm-hmm.
I need somebody in the chat to check on that.
Okay.
No, it's I wonder what yeah.
Let me see if I can find it. And I want to actually, if it's not a true thing, I want to put it, to rest. But here it is. It says soybeans. Company inserted pork's genes into soy and created hybrid proteins. Unit of Argentine biotech careers listed in the U.S. last year. And I can't really share this because it's on my phone.
Yeah. No, I think I get the gist of it. I think you know how soybean is a very important source of protein. It's animal feed for the protein side of things. And so I haven't heard about this story, but what I could see these scientists try to do is change the protein profile of the soybean. So having, you have plant proteins and animal proteins. I don't know why they would want to do that, but they could try and make a soybean that has a different protein composition to, let's say, be a richer food for. I wouldn't want to feed the animals the soybean that has pork protein in it, but I don't know. That's a very I would.
Can you understand why people would be scared of that too? I mean, there's a lot of people out there that need to eat kosher, And so when you add pork into the equation, and then think about it, if it's mass produced, a lot of soy is in everything. It's in ice cream, it's in drinks. So if they mass produce that, the protein higher, there's going to be a lot of people eating pork and they not necessarily even know that they're doing it.
But is it still pork at that point? You know, it's if it's grown on a field. I mean, I'd have to look into this one. It looks a little sketchy. I don't like it. I don't like it a bit.
It's a little weird.
There's issues with GMOs that were like allergy. So if they put something in a GMO in the soybean that is something that you can get allergic to, then it's a risk. But they do a lot of research and safety when they do GMO studies, and so if there's problems of that nature or toxicity, it doesn't go through because it's not viable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me see. Stephen Larson from LinkedIn said, "I think documentaries like Food sparked interest in GMOs and formed a lot of confusion and opinions about GMOs." So thank you, Stephen, for commenting there. Now, that's true, because a lot of people are confused. And like Jan just wrote, but why do GMO products? So,
because
GMO
products, because unfortunately there's demand for it in the system that we're in. So we need corn and we need soy because, like we said, it's in everything. And if I grew a soybean and I had to spray all the pesticides to make it grow well, I'd rather grow a soybean that is GMO, that is able to fight the bugs on its own and the disease on its own, and you cut down on the spray and it's easier for the farmer. And this one about herbicide tolerance that people don't necessarily understand is that if the soybean is resistant to Roundup, then as a farmer, you do one pass with Roundup and nothing grows but soybean. And that saves you time and gas and money and all you can think. So there's, unfortunately, why GMOs? Well, because there's a market. There's a market.
And there's things like mustard weed and things like that are completely, that Roundup doesn't even touch them anymore.
Yeah,
do you see a problem with that? Actually,
it's my current job. We study those resistant weeds because a big one is Palmer amaranth is resistant to all kinds of herbicides, not just Roundup. It has multi-resistance to multi-herbicides, and so
you can also use amaranth as a herbicide or as a organic pesticide as well.
Amaranth.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you make a stew out of it.
Mm-hmm.
They
just sometimes use that in like South America.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating plant because it's so diverse. If you look at the population of amaranth in the field, they look all different stages, different sizes, and so they're very hard to control and they're resistant to Roundup. So my current job, we study other chemicals that are, it's not chemicals, sorry, big mistake there. It's natural products. It's called micropeptides. So it's like a protein. So it's not a chemical compound. And you can control weeds using those natural products that are fermented out of bacteria. So it's what I'm doing now, but I see an issue with the appearance of those resistance weed in the field because we use Roundup for so many years and it's a single mode of action, as we call it. So eventually the weeds become resistant to it. And the amaranth that I work with at work, you can spray the maximum recommended dose of Roundup, which is very high. It's still legal to spray a lot of Roundup and you're still fine. And even at that dose, you can't kill it. And it's just scary. It's very scary because it's just taking over fields.
So welcome in.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Joe.
Welcome in Jimmy Pickles. Jimmy Pickles is he's a Hulu star. He was in a movie Super Hot. Welcome on in. He has the second hottest pepper in the world, I believe. So It's good to see Jimmy in. And you know what? With this conversation, I could imagine the stuff flowing through his head to trying to create the next hottest pepper on little things that he could create doing skin culture, anything with plants.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody trying to create the world's hottest pepper, like, what could I do here? What could I do this? How could I do that? How could I change something and make this pepper so much different looking? Like the primatality with the, thing hanging down.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting.
With your sprays that you put on the amaranth, do you possibly ever get worried about the chemicals that you are putting on? If you can't answer it, I understand. Do you ever get worried about the chemicals that you're putting on these plants for yourself and your safety? And how bad are these chemicals actually for humans? Because think about it, like if you're putting it on a plant is a being, it's basically a life form, I guess. So what is it actually going to do to humans?
So there's a lot of safety precaution that we take when we use those compounds. I said chemicals, but it's not a chemical. It's a protein, so it's made of amino acids. So it's not something that is produced like a chemical compound. It's fermented by some natural organism. But there's safety precautions that we take because we don't know all about those chemicals, those compounds. We don't necessarily understand them all. So we have face masks and we use spray booth with ventilation and all that makes sure we are protected as the scientists. And that's the first step that we take for our own protection. With this particular problem of Palmer amaranth, we're trying to kill the plant. So we're looking for a peptide that is able to interfere with some vital function in the plant to kill it. And that is not something that is going to kill you as a human because you're not a plant. And also because we're designing those things specifically for Palmer amaranth. So it's not going to kill the plant next to it. It's specific to Palmer. And
I just saw a video today where they showed a plant actually breathing. And it was actually breathing under a microscope. So explain that to me on a scientist level.
Well, what do you call breathing? Because if you say breathing is an exchange of gases, then the plants are the respiration, so turning, you're breathing the oxygen in and making CO2. Okay, that's what we do. The plants do it a little bit during a certain period of time, but they do a lot of photosynthesis, which is the opposite. So they're breathing. They just don't have an organ that's called a lung. They have an organ that's called a chloroplast to make the photosynthesis happen. So I would say the plants breathe for sure, because if you suffocate them, they die.
Sereni goes, what causes tomato stems to turn a dark purple and curve?
Let's think about this one.
I think I kind of answered this for her. When my tomato plants turn dark purple, it means that they need phosphorus. So if your tomatoes are curling and they're turning purple, they need more phosphorus. When you're in the very first stages of like starting your tomato plants and they turn purple, it's because you don't want to put fertilizers on them yet, because they're just little baby plants. But when they get bigger, you definitely want to add some more phosphorus to the soil. Otherwise, they're going to look really weird and not produce as well.
Opie says, do you believe that the use of GMO crops should always be disclosed?
Yeah, why not? Why not say it? It is what it is. I think people are, have the right to know what they're eating. So I'm, all for it.
Thank you, Mods, for posting all these links. I appreciate it. We have a lot more to discuss here, guys. Just a lot more to discuss here today. So Let me see. Let me just go on to see if there's any questions quick. Can a human body, this is from Chef Tech, can human body properly digest GMOs? It's not natural. What are the side effects? Has that been heavily studied?
Mm. Yes. So if you look at a GMO plant and a non-GMO plant, you can't tell them apart. And that is because they're really not that different. And the GMO side of things is going to be at most 5, 6 genes. So you know how we're made up of thousands of millions of genes, and they're everywhere. And if you eat anything, you eat genes. You know, they're the makeup of life. So there's that GMO plant has just maybe a couple extra genes that make it resistant to an insect or diseases. And so you eat it, and your body doesn't even know that there's anything different about it because it just gets broken down as you digest everything. There's nothing non-digestible about a GMO plant, and you could worry about allergies. So, like I saw the soybean crossed with or GMO pork. Well, if you're allergic to meat and you eat the soybean that is GMO pork, then you might get an allergic reaction to that soybean that you are not.
So the pork wouldn't lessen down the line. So if you're creating a soybean that has pork in it, even though they're creating it for the protein, it still has the pork enough in there for somebody to be allergic to it?
Well, if you're allergic to red meat, for example, there's people who have this tick-borne disease where you're allergic to red meat, then I would be worried about eating a soybean that has pork protein in it. Now, it depends on how they did it, and I'm sure they thought about it because it would be not a very smart move to make soybean, something that's becoming an issue for some people, but I would look into it.
So before I forget, guys, I want to talk about, we're going to come back to this whole conversation. I want to talk about Yannick's book. So,
yeah.
So I don't want to forget about that and get and just totally get into this conversation. So Yannick has a book called The Farm Nursery Handbook. Can you guys see that on your side, the Amazon link?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
So you could buy it in Kindle for $5 or $4.99, or paperback for $12.90. It has a 5-star rating, which is pretty cool. Can you talk a little bit about the book?
Yeah. I actually wrote the book mostly for me because I had all these things in my head that I had learned through the years. I did a couple of years of farming and all these years working in greenhouses and with plants. So I wanted to put everything down on paper because I'm planning on starting my own farm next year. And I needed to have something that I could refer to, something that I wrote, something that helps me along the way, and that I can put to the test through real life situations. So hopefully in spring of 2025, my wife and I will be starting our little operation under an acre. So if you're into small scale farming, this is right up your alley. We love sustainable farming. And I know I've been talking a lot about GMOs because that's where my career was for 12 years, but I'm not going to be planting GMOs in my farm, maybe the purple tomato, but just the book itself is about small scale farming. So it's all about sustainability and, responsibility for the environment and soil. So I go through different topics in it. It's pretty comprehensive, but at the same time, it's a short book. So if you're new to farming, you can really pick it up and learn a lot really quick. And then that would pique your interest to do your own research to dive deeper into the different topics. But yeah, I talk about how you find a proper plot of land, how do you prepare the land, and then how do you prepare your business, and what do you want to grow, how do you pick your vegetables. And I go in detail about plant propagation because that's really what I love. It's really my passion, is making more plants out of plants, whether it's with seeds or cuttings or tissue culture in that little hood behind me. All plant propagation techniques. I explained that in the book as well. So if you're into that kind of thing.
So you also talked about instruction and fracture, seed funding, equipment and tools, education and outreach, marketing and promotion, how you can make a difference. Together we can cultivate change.
Yeah, I call it a handbook because it's really not that thick. It's 120 pages. So, but I'm a scientist, so it's written in a way that's very direct to the point. There's no fluff, and so it might not be a book that is fun to read, as in you want to go to bed at night and you want a good story. But if you want to learn a thing or two, I think it would be a great way to start.
Talk a little bit more about Meredith. How did you guys meet? Was it at work? And talk a little bit about, she's a bug scientist at heart. Does that really help you out with everything? Because I know I need a bug scientist somewhere. Because if I'm in a garden, if I don't have my phone, I'm like, what the heck is that? I've never seen that before.
Yeah. And she would be able to tell you exactly what it is. She loves IDing bugs. We met at work back when we were both working at Bayer Crop Science, that company I mentioned. She was an entomologist, so she was keeping bugs and stink bugs and other bugs. And I was the plant biologist, so I was making my little soybean, superpower soybean. And so she would feed my plants to her bugs, and then we would get back together and say, okay, did it work or not? And along the lines, we just started getting along, and took her out for a drink, and I had my Mustang and my French accent, and she was it.
Over. Game over.
Game over. And the first year that we were dating, I took her to France to see my family. So she was like, okay, he's serious. I was serious. We're still together. It's been 10 years now, and we're married 7. So not bad.
Yeah, anniversary is almost coming up when you got engaged.
Yeah.
Now the question is, do you know the date you got engaged? Maybe I shouldn't say that. You know how I find out the date I got engaged? It's by looking at Facebook when it comes up in memories every year. I got the wedding, I know what the date we got married.
Yeah,
but when it comes to the date I got engaged.
I have no idea the date that we got engaged.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? It's like, thank God for Facebook.
Because once you get married, those dates kind of just disappear. Like, I don't celebrate dates.
Yeah, we should, though. It's important.
That engagement, going back to that for a second, I loved how you did that. Yeah. Did she have any idea?
No, and she's a musician too. She plays the saxophone very well, like big time saxophone player. And so I knew if I wrote a song, made a cover of a song with my own lyrics, she would fall for it. And I didn't know any other way to ask how to, I've never done it before. So it's just, that's how it came about. I just put some lyrics on the paper, and I had my ukulele, and the rest is history.
The rest is history. I want to get into tissue culture in a little bit, but I want to answer some questions in the chat because I'm falling really behind. Let me see. LP said, shouldn't we maybe stop using Roundup because of the resistance to it, but more so because it's proven carcinogen that we're ingesting? And I have something to add to that with glyphosate. 90% of the people, or 80% actually, have glyphosate in their bodies. From beer, wine, soda, and we have all these other issues.
As he drinks a beer.
It's everything we have. It's everything we have right now, what we're eating. but we're also seeing all these health situations involved with our kids a lot more than ever. Any link?
Put me on
I
the
know,
spot
it's tough
there.
one.
Put me on the spot there.
Only answer what you can for
Yeah.
you.
Well,
And you
I'll
don't
tell
have
you,
to answer it,
I'll
please.
I'll tell you a story. You know how I was working for Bayer. It turns out Bayer then acquired Monsanto, who is the company behind Roundup and the GMOs. And so it was a little bittersweet for me because I was like, I worked my whole life for this company, and now they're buying this other company, and they sold my division to yet another company, but I was a little bummed out of it. And then I realized that, Roundup is everywhere. It is part of the toolbox of every farmer and gardeners as well. I mean, when I have poison ivy, I use Roundup. I'm sorry to say it, but that's what I use because it kills everything down to the root. And so I am a believer in science, and I believe in the studies that have been done saying that it is safe. I wouldn't eat Roundup with a spoonful because it's a chemical, but I don't foresee, like, I'm not scared of Roundup necessarily on in my life, like as a contamination issue. If you're a farmer and you apply Roundup every day and you have hundreds of gallons of it and you handle those high concentrations, then I could see it being probably a carcinogen or some toxicity, or I haven't done the studies, but there's issues with every chemicals at certain doses. And so I wouldn't be scared of my plate when I eat at dinner because there's Roundup residues in it, because most likely there's not.
Thank you for answering that, by the way. That was not the easiest question to answer. And
Yeah.
I appreciate you answering that. And again, guys, everybody in this channel, in the chat, and everybody watching this, it's all about learning, right? And you got to do what you got to do for yourself. So that's important to know. And we're all here to learn, so that's the most important thing. Cork, any other questions you want to add on to that?
I can't right now.
Okay.
I can't.
I was going to ask you a question. You too. Do you use Roundup anytime around the house, around the farm?
I used to. I don't
used
do it
to.
anymore.
Yeah.
There's just too much stuff going on for
Yeah.
my beliefs where I don't want to use that anymore.
Yeah.
I'm also I've been really getting into the soil life in the last 2 years. Like, you use your own compost, your chickens and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But if we do compost the right way, I'm a huge believer that we don't need everything else. And the more I'm learning about the soil, it's all about the microbes,
Mm-hmm.
And if you have healthy microbes, you have a healthy plant, then you have a healthy person, and you have a healthy earth. So that's been my concept. But at the same time, science, it's very interesting. We could do so much more with science. I'm just afraid we're using it the wrong way.
Yeah.
That's my own thought. I think there's a lot of good, but then again, I mean, who knows? That's what I've been talking to some YouTube personalities, some of the best in the world, and they have the same. I need to know more. The question, it's like the soil. We only went so far, and we stopped learning. We stopped going beyond. Why? Nobody answered why. Let's keep on going. Let's keep on going. Let's keep on going. We stopped at a point. And that's what I'm afraid what's going on now too, is we stop. We got to keep on learning and answer those questions.
Yeah.
We got the whole world with this,
Yeah, there's so much to the soil. The soil is just amazing, rich with life, and we don't even understand, a bit of it. It's just so complicated, and interactions, and millions upon millions of diverse microbes, and they all play a role. And it's fascinating. It's for sure it's very important for a farm.
So Tom said, "Great book."
Hey, thanks, Tom.
And you know what? It's always good to. That book it's not that expensive, guys. Go buy it. Go check it out. And you know what's great is when you have life experiences and you're putting it into the book. The more you go on, and then you just, hey, you know what? I wrote this book. I know all this stuff. Now put it all together yourself when you're actually doing your own farm. What do you want to grow in your farm? You said an acre farm. Now, when you have an acre farm, you got to do a lot of stuff vertical, right?
Yes, unless you keep it small. We're gonna start on an acre because that's manageable for one person and a half, maybe. So, or two people. You know, it's a surface that is manageable depending on how you set up your fields. But we want to grow diverse vegetables and cut flowers. So that's kind of like our two sides of the business. I would be doing the vegetables and she would be doing the flowers kind of things. She puts the bouquets together and, you know, I take care of bagging the lettuce, you know. It's going to be very small to start. And we decided to start small and grow from there. So I think it's a smart choice because you can really get overwhelmed quickly if you go in all the directions at once and try to grow everything. It's hard not to because you just want to try everything, but it gets overwhelming really quickly. So you got to pare it down to essentials, especially in the beginning. So yeah, probably starting with vegetables. We do a lot of leafy greens because those are quick cash crops. And then tomatoes and peppers are, you know, a special place in my heart because they're just so much fun to grow in the greenhouses or in the field. But we're big fans of, you know, Swiss chard and beets. Those are going to be on the list, I believe. And I think we'll have to gauge the demand for it's a market in our area that has a lot of farm already in it, so we have to find our niche and find our markets. But I think with an acre and veggies and flowers, we could probably make a good farmers market stand.
Oh, Serena had a joke before. This is pretty funny. So, what virus is always drunk? The coronavirus.
I'm not drunk yet.
Serena always has our joke of the day. I hope you guys, I know there's a whole bunch of questions. I hope you guys, we link them all together before. So we put them all in one. So if we didn't answer your total question, just keep on putting it and we'll try to get that answered. But I think we pretty much answered those GMO questions in a lot of space there. So, so I want to show we have a couple of pages I want to share here. So,
give me 1 second, Joe. I'll be right back.
Okay. So, Facebook page. So this is one of your Facebook pages. Well, your Facebook page.
Yeah, that's my Facebook page. Yeah, thanks for bringing it up. Oh, the petunias up there, the fireflies. See that?
There it is. So that's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah. So it doesn't light up the room, but you can see it, you know, and it's beautiful.
So there's the book, the Farm Nursery Handbook, Comprehensive Guide to Starting and Running a Small-Scale Hybrid Farm Nursery Operation.
Yeah.
There's more petunias. Now, this is your land in North Carolina.
Yes, that is it.
How far away is that from Clayton, North Carolina?
Oh, it's not that far. It's part of the same region that is between Raleigh and Durham and Chapel Hill. It's called the Research Triangle Park, and Clayton is on the east, and Chapel Hill is on the west. So it's about an hour from Clayton.
Okay. My nephew just moved there 2 years ago, so I might have to come visit.
You see the lake in the background there? We have lake view. Yeah.
That is beautiful. Wow.
Yeah, so we're gonna, and it used to be corn and soy on rotation. So we are taking a little bit out of that production, and we're going to turn it into a small scale, diversified type of farm. So it's going to be we're going to return the land to its use. Yeah. There you go.
So as you guys can see here, there's just the petunias, and they're lit up.
Yeah. Are you going through my whole Facebook page right now?
Yeah, well, part of it.
Oh, okay.
And there you go.
Oh yeah, some monsteras. Monstera Thai constellation. Those are, if you're into indoor plants, those are the ultimate indoor plant. They're really expensive. But I got them in tissue culture, so I got them for a more affordable price, and then I grow them out. All right.
And talking about electric, so you guys should go check out his Facebook page. So that's pretty awesome. Let's talk about electroculture. Because one of the things I was watching on your pages is you put up the Metallica, all of a sudden you see your plants, they're vibrating and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe not electroculture, but
yes, sir. It's a mechanostimulation, so it's physically vibrating the plants, and so it's a field of research that is pretty unexplored. And I have a very good friend of mine who's pioneering it, and he gave me this device. Yeah, he gave me this device that he invented, where there's a speaker in the middle and then an aluminum grid where you put plants, and as you play the music or the sounds, or you can put your voice, the plants actually feel the vibrations. I say feel it. You can see the plants shake. Are the plants, aware that it's going on, and are they wondering what's going on? I don't know, but there is evidence out there in the scientific world that.
Do you play Marky Mark when this is happening? Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
Yeah, that would be
seriously, have you noticed a difference in the plants?
No, so it hasn't been long enough, because I got the device about 2 months ago, and I'm just having fun playing hard songs on it and shaking the plants and looking. It looks cool, but I'd have to refer to my friend who's doing it for real. That's his job, and he's in touch with universities, and they're doing research, and so it's there's things out there about sonication. So when you apply ultrasonic sounds to seeds, you can help with germination and breaking up dormancy. So there's things where we know that if you apply a frequency to a plant or to a seed, there's reaction to it. And so we're investigating. I'm just having fun, but he's doing the hard work.
Okay, that's very interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. When I see those plants moving like that into the music, I listened to that at work today. It was great. So I'm listening to the music because a lot of times I'm on a computer all day. I'm typing all day. Mm-hmm. So I have I'm watching other YouTube channels. Actually, I should say I'm listening to other YouTube channels. So I'm going through your stuff and I'm listening to Metallica. Then I'm glancing. I'm like, oh, this is cool. Then I'm typing away. Then I'm looking at another music and I'm like, this is really good. I'm listening to music today. But it was cool watching the plants.
Do they grow more when you play Enter Sandman versus?
That would be we'd have to do an actual scientific experiment with the proper controls that don't get the music, and then the ones that get blasted all day, and see who enjoys it the most. But yeah, it's fun. Funny. It's fun.
So, Simple Jan Homestead, can you save seeds from GMOs?
Well, if we take the example of the purple tomatoes, you can. Yeah, you can save them and replant them, and they'll grow through the seeds. If you're into feed corn, that wouldn't work because corn is hybrid. So you wouldn't get the same plant in the next generation, so you can't save GMO corn. Soybean, you can.
So it's a GMO hybrid?
Well, corn is all hybrid in the field. It's just because hybrid corn grows bigger, more vigorously. You have to have a certain female parent and a certain male parent to get the actual hybrid that is extra strong.
As a
So-
scientist, does that bother you that most corns that we're growing are hybrid and not true native corn?
No, not really.
Okay.
Yeah. It's when you cross one thing with another, the progeny is different, but it's a combination of the two. And if you're after those traits, like a big old corn ear, you only can get that if you go the hybrid route. I don't know of any heirloom corn that would be that huge of a yield, or it's what you're looking for there. So it's a technology that you can use.
Kalen says, "Hey, can I have a pierogi plant?" I love pierogies. I love that idea. Let's make pierogi plants.
That's a good idea.
It could be pretty amazing, right?
Yeah.
Hey, science, you never know. Maybe 10 years from now, we could have pierogi plants.
Oh no, they're putting pork into soybeans, Joe.
Oh,
Yeah.
In the next 6 years, who knows?
Yeah, think about tofu.
Come
Tofu,
on.
yeah.
Yeah.
Soybeans, pork soybean makes the best tofu, I think. No, I don't know. It's
have
like
some kibasi, some pierogies. and it's vegetable based.
Yeah.
There's another link for Jane Doe. We have some of the best mods on YouTube, which they are absolutely amazing. Jay Dixon and Jane Doe sharing all your information. And beautiful land. It is beautiful land. Now, is that off grid?
No, we're gonna be on the grid. We're gonna have a well and a septic, but we get electricity through the grid. Yes, it's still in town. Yeah, but we'll have solar power for sure.
I really appreciate you sharing all information during this live with us, because it's making people learn. And again, they got to have their own beliefs. You believe or not believe. You grow your own food. We want people to grow their own food. So, that's funny. Kaylin goes, Joe would play polkas for plants.
Oh my gosh. Metallica versus
The polka.
So which plant would be happier, Joe?
The hot peppers. You ever seen
The hot peppers would like Metallica more?
Make him spicy.
No, I'm Polish, Welcome in, the Stock Explorer. Welcome in. Just looking at, I'm trying to catch up with the chat a little bit. Why can't you tell us secrets in a cornfield? Because they all have ears. Okay,
no, that's
Serena, I told you a little too many. That was like 2 jokes already. But that was really funny, Serena. That was really good.
Thank you guys for all the birthday wishes. I really appreciate it. I was kind of like not happy about my birthday today because I'm turning 40. So
wow, it's a big one. Hey, happy birthday.
I just feel old.
No.
Thank you guys.
No, not even close.
So tissue culture.
That's hold on. That makes me feel better. A scientist said that I'm not even close to being old. I love it. Can I just? I'll quote you on that.
Yannick, I didn't have gray hair when I met my wife. I don't know what happened.
There you go. There you go.
And we got to create a food that, so we could have our old hair back instead of gray hair. And you guys got gray hair. I mean, great hair, not gray hair. Oh, that's great. So what do you guys like to eat? Just wondering off. What do you guys like eating as a family? What's your go-to?
So I'm lucky enough that my wife Meredith, she's the farmers market manager for a town not far from here. So she gets all the good food, all the local produce. We've been getting pounds of strawberries for weeks on end. Now I just it's all seasonal and it's all fresh. and she's doing a great job because she also has vendors that have like local seafood from the coast, that have meat from locally sourced meat, and so we get a lot of different things that we eat, but it's all local and fresh.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. I try to eat as local as I can. Yeah, and I grow for my garden quite a bit. So, and what I can't say for my garden, I can it. So.
There you go.
I see everybody's birthdays. People are saying happy birthdays.
I know. Thank you guys. I feel so special. So thank you.
That is awesome. So you have a couple of things. We have a show and tell, guys. We have a little show and tell.
Oh, well, yeah, we do. You were mentioning tissue culture, and I don't know that everybody's familiar with it. But tissue culture is a method of plant propagation where you actually grow the plant on an artificial media. It's what you see at the bottom here. It's like Jell-O that has all the good stuff for the plants to grow. So it's like, liquid compost in there. It has all the nutrients and the vitamins and everything. And so what is inside of this tube is completely sterile. So if I were to open this cap here, then this could get contaminated. So tissue culture is just a method of plant propagation that allows you to clone basically plants. So it's called a non-sexual reproduction. So it's vegetative cuttings that you do with seeds or leaves or stems, and then it looks like this in this little tube. And this is a philodendron. Yeah.
I'm gonna make you larger. We're still gonna be on the screen, but I'm just gonna make you larger so we can actually see.
Oh, okay. So I'll show you.
If I can.
I'll show you two things here.
Did it work?
No.
Oh, well. So this one, there it is. So here would be a plant that has been propagated, I would say, in a classic way. So it's just a seed that I put into soil and you grow a plant. This is a tissue culture plant. So it was cut from a mother plant and put into this vial to grow multiple plants. You see there's multiple stems. And so it allows you to really propagate faster and in much larger numbers the plants that you're looking after. So, and that is what I was doing in my career for years. And so I kind of love, it's like an art form. You're in that hood with the scalpel and the forceps, and you have to be very clean and gentle. And it's the science behind propagation, which is what got me hooked.
Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with it, when you for an application, they make more disease-free plants that way, right?
Yeah. You can make virus-free plants because you isolate a piece of tissue from a plant that is diseased. But if you go deep inside, there's clean tissue in the meristems. There's tissue that is isolated from the viruses. And so you can retrieve that little bit of plant and put it in tissue culture, and then you regenerate a plant that is completely disease-free. They do that for garlic.
This might just be a stupid question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Are they more susceptible to diseases because they weren't during that period? So they weren't susceptible, like, say for instance, like we as humans, if we get a virus or something, we get over it, and then later on the line we don't get it again because we have antibodies that protect.
Yeah.
Say for instance, now does that happen with the plant?
Unfortunately, with the viruses in this case, where we're doing plants that are free of virus, if the plant is contaminated, then it's going to be sick and it's going to die. So it's very important, for example, in garlic production, where you want virus-free plants, and those plants come from tissue culture and they're tested and then they're propagated in a way that doesn't have the disease. But the plant is not going to be more susceptible to the disease later down the road. If it comes in, it's going to still have it. It's not a vaccine against the disease. It's just a way of producing clean plants to start with.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I had some of the advantages. Some of the advantages with tissue culture was speed, precision, disease control, and genetic preservation. That sound
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, so it's because you do cloning. So the genetic preservation is the fact that you are maintaining the exact same plant because
Mhm.
you're propagating it vegetatively. So it's maintaining that genetic.
And
Is
some of the
graphing and cloning the same thing? Like when you graph a tree?
No, grafting is a way of propagation, but it's not. Well, you can clone trees by making grafts on other trees of that one tree that you're trying to propagate. So you could do that, but grafting is not considered a cloning technique. It's a propagation technique. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Joe, but I just have all these questions inside of me, and I can't help it.
let it out. Let it out. It's like I roar like a tiger. Like when I did a jib jab doing a happy birthday to Roar the Tiger song. So roar, go for it. Now some of the challenges like contamination, cost, and genetic uniformity.
Yeah, it's very costly because you need one of those machines behind me to work with it. So it's not something you can do in your garden, and is also if you have contaminations because everything is sterile. If you have a mushroom, a fungal spore that gets in there, then you grow mold and all the plants die. But it is faster and it has a huge potential for high numbers of clones. Yeah.
So Corky David Potter goes, "Happy birthday! You're a spring chicken."
Thank you. I don't feel like a spring chicken. My back and my knees hurt, and my neck. So yeah, I don't feel like a spring chicken, but thank you.
I'm just happy it's not my birthday yet. I'm 54 and climbing fast. So setting up a tissue culture lab. So some of the things: ideal lab location, basic facilities like a general washing area, media preparation area, aseptic transfer area, environmental controlled incubators and culture rooms. That's some of your basic facilities, right? And a plant tissue culture versus animal tissue culture.
Oh yeah.
So that's some of the things for setting up a tissue culture lab, right?
You can start like Dexter's laboratory here is very simple tissue culture lab because I have this very small hood, and then my growth chamber is basically those shelves behind me. It's not like temperature controlled or anything, but it works. But then you can go really fancy and get the very expensive equipment, and you need a what's called an autoclave. So it's a big pressure cooker to like you make a can. You're canning, trying to make something sterile.
Yeah.
Well, you need a big pressure cooker for that. So I got a big pressure cooker. It's not technically a scientific one, but it works. So there's ways to make tissue culture on a budget, and there's lots of people doing it.
Now, are you going to stop doing the biotech work and just work on your farm? Or you continue to do both? What's the plan with that?
I'm going to continue to do both in the beginning. And my wife will do the same. And then as we grow, we'll see who transitions soonest and fastest. But I think my dream eventually is for my farm to be my main source of income, and for my wife, and feeding the family and the neighbors and everything. So that's my dream.
Now, farming doesn't really make you a ton of money.
No, I know.
So
and
do you just have like a desire to do this? And you have it like you want to do this so badly?
Yeah, that's my dream. So there's no price tag on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's so important. It's so important you live your dream.
So Go ahead,
It's
Joe.
so important to live your dream, though. That's great that you might be able to do that sooner than you
Yeah.
think.
Very lucky.
It's
Very
totally
lucky.
my dream as well. Like I have a food forest. I have chickens. I have, I have a
Yeah.
huge garden and stuff like that. So I kind of feel your passion.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it makes you happy, right? Those things make you happy.
Yeah, and you know what? I love flowers. That's my thing. Is I love flowers. I mean, I like growing food too, but and when my flowers pop up, I get so excited. And so not a lot of people share that passion. So I end up just being the flower geek. It's like, hey, do you want to see my petunias? Hey, do you want to see my irises? They just popped up. How about my peonies? Do you see the ants all over them? I can't wait, So not everybody shares that desire, so they just look at me funny. But
Yeah.
I love flowers and I love growing things. And so yeah, it's just my passion.
Yeah, I hear you.
So, Yannick, is it going to the farm? It's been your connection with nature and a passion for sustainable agriculture?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
I got a lot of notes.
Yeah. You did your research, yeah. But yeah, it's basically where I grew up and being connected with plants and animals and nature and reconnecting, with the things we lost touch
Is there
with
a huge difference between France and here as far as growing things? Do people look at it differently than here?
Oh yeah. Oh, GMOs are not even allowed in France. Yeah, there's a no GMO policy in France because food is sacred in France and you can't mess with it at all.
Yeah, and France and in France in general, they protect their waters too, correct? They're
so it's
into that.
I think it's because it's an older country. It's been through rough times earlier in history, so now it's trying to do right, and so it's going back to small scale agriculture and protecting the environment. And I know France is big on nuclear power, so it's not so reliable on sources of energy that would be more polluting for the gas and greenhouse gas emissions. So it's a country that's very forward looking and that has a lot of history. So I think there's a lot of good things that come out of that.
Now, being from France, I don't know if you can even answer this question. So I see a lot of protests from France as far as farming is concerned.
Yeah.
So why is that? What are they changing there? And why is it such a big deal? Why are they doing what they are doing?
It's how France is part of Europe, and so it's like open market and things can be purchased across limits. And so the agriculture business in France are against other countries that have other maybe cheaper products. And so as we open the borders, then the farmers are feeling a little threatened that our local economy is going to suffer from things coming out of France. And like wine,
they're afraid of the competition.
Yeah, like wine and food, like sources of food.
But there's nothing better than good French wine. So
I don't know.
I mean, are people really going to be like if somebody pulls some wine from England, are really people going to like jump on the English wine? I don't think so. I'll be like, this wine comes from France. I'm going to drink this.
Yeah, there's good wine in many places, but I think it comes down to the price at the end of the day. So if the wine from Spain is cheaper, then that's competition, and so there's a lot of issues like that.
Okay, that kind of explains it a little more because I constantly see that popping in my feeds and stuff like that.
Yeah, we like to protest. We like to protest in France. We do a lot of human rights, and you can't take our retirement age down.
There's no problem in that because that you just have passion for where you live and how you want to live, and I don't see a problem with that.
Yep.
It's cool.
I'm surprised that they had that in your college to learn from that, though. that's kind of interesting to me. So you can't use that. You can't do that kind of agriculture in France, but you actually could study it.
Yeah, we studied it and we learned it, and I was able to find a job where I applied it. So yeah.
Boom, it worked.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's for scientific purposes. So I imagine there's a clause in the law about that, like the development things. And
oh, I'm not getting any royalties from the things I did before. No.
Now, did you always know English, or did you come over here and had to learn?
I knew some English, like school level French, school level English, which is not great. But I learned most when I arrived here, and I had to figure it out. And you know, it's when you do it, that's when you learn the best.
French is not your only language, though, right?
French and English, those two, yeah.
Those are the only two?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You sound great, by the way.
Yeah,
I would never
thank
know.
you.
Just learn, and you
don't sound like you're from a foreign country at all, actually.
Oh, I can turn on my French accent anytime.
Oh, okay, we.
Okay, here we go. Say something romantic to the single females out there.
Ooh.
No. My wife.
No.
I want to see if anybody melts. Does it have that effect? I'm just. Okay.
His wife is listening.
I know.
Joe.
She might be, yeah.
Like I said, this is a relaxed chat, so it's all good. No, you know what? I just wanted to repeat something to my wife later when I, after the show.
Oh. Okay, so afterwards, you got to teach him something that's going to knock her off her feet.
Oh, okay.
So the Phaser NU project, what is that? Phaser NU, or baby mind experiment? Did you ever hear of that?
No.
Okay. So, okay. Well, I'm not going to ask that question then. I don't know anything about it. It's the reason why I wanted to know. Okay, hold on.
Oh, Kaylin, Spanish is a Romance language too. It's just German and Russian is not a Romance language. Can you imagine you trying to romance somebody in Russian or German? I don't think that's going to work very well.
So with Christmas trees.
Oh.
Can you talk about a little bit of what's going on with that? That's pretty interesting to me.
Yeah, I worked with the the Christmas tree genetic program at NC State, North Carolina State University, and basically doing breeding of Christmas tree to get the best Christmas trees. Just like you would do breeding with corn and soy or any other crop, tomatoes, you do breeding to find the best traits. There's a breeding program for Christmas trees, except it takes 25 years for one generation. So it's a slow process. But there's just like everything else, there's diseases and pests that go after our Christmas trees. And so there's a program at NC State to try and fight those problems. And there's even, like you were saying earlier to me, Joe, that the deer ate all your peppers one year. Well, they go after Christmas trees too. And the Christmas tree is in the ground for 8 years before it can be sold. So if at year 2 you get a hungry deer that comes and munch on it, then your Christmas tree is just done.
I did not know that about Christmas trees. What a waste. They're in the ground for 7 years. You chop it down and you put it in your living room. That's horrible. Yeah. I never even thought about it that way. That's a long time.
It's renewable. It's renewable. So there's you could go for the plastic Christmas tree that's reusable every time, but at the same time, it's not as beautiful and magic. Or you can go for the local. I mean, for us, North Carolina is big on Christmas trees locally. So you can get a local Christmas tree and it's renewable energy, So it's grown and harvested and enjoyed and composted after that.
Now the Fraser fern, is that it? Is the trait
Oh,
Fraser
Fraser
fir?
fir. Yeah, yeah. It's the Christmas tree. It's the North Carolina native Christmas tree. So it only grows in the mountains of Appalachia, and it's endangered in the wild. But because people have been farming it now, there's millions of them grown on farms. So it's one of those that if we were not farming it, it would probably go extinct. So it's a big industry in North Carolina where I'm from. So yeah.
And they could grow for like 400 years or something, isn't it?
Fraser fir, yeah, they can grow really big and really old, yeah. But the ones you get in your living room is about 6 to 7 years.
And with conifers, they could grow like up to 4,000 years. Does that sound right?
Some of them, yeah, the oldest of them all, yeah, they're the oldest organism
I didn't know that.
is a conifer, yeah.
And so they could be also grown very small.
And yeah.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. 4,000 years. That's amazing. I kind of looked at that and I was like, whoa. And what's great about conifers is they grow in cracks. Like on a mountain, they could grow right there in that little crack,
Mm-hmm.
which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So we're almost, we got an hour and 41 minutes. So if you guys have any other questions, make sure they're all in caps. So conifers bear both male and female cones on the same plant. Does that sound right?
You have both you're gonna have a male parent and a female parent. So male cone, female cone, and it's gonna make your offspring from there, yeah.
And what other things you want to do with the Christmas tree projects and stuff that you're doing? Like what's next?
So the big project was trying to find a way to make the Christmas trees resistant to Phytophthora root rot, which is a big disease in Christmas trees. Phytophthora is the plant killer. Phytophthora means plant killer, plant destroyer. It's a terrible disease, and it kills Christmas trees very rapidly. And you can think about a Christmas tree that you have an investment for like 8 years before you can harvest. If the disease comes in and wipes out your field, you're short like on your money big time. So it's a huge problem. And so there's a tree that's a cousin of the Fraser fir that's from Japan. That's called the Momi fir, and it's resistant to Phytophthora. So we're trying to come up with a solution where you could find the genes in Momi fir that make it resistant and put it in Fraser fir so that Fraser fir is resistant. So it's a GMO approach, but it's an approach that could save the tree like it did the papaya. So yeah.
So I want to show got a question here. How long does it take for Christmas trees to get to the height they are used by the state capitals and the White House?
Oh, that's actually this year in the White House was a tree from North Carolina, so we got to see it.
Cool.
Yeah, over 20 years, 20, 30 years, yeah, at least. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Sick.
So people actually keep those trees for a long time, usually for collecting cones and seeds. And eventually, if you get to be in the White House, well, they cut it down and put it on display.
Now, are those the same tree that creates pine nuts?
They have pine nuts, but they're not the ones that you eat. They're too small. They're too small. The pine nuts come from a different type of pine, so not a fir, but a pine. And I believe they're probably more in the Mediterranean and hotter climates, but I'm not sure. Yeah.
Serena just had a question. When should I plant beans for fall crop? So that's totally off subject here, but Serena, I would start, and depends on where you live. You got to count down your date from your first frost in the fall. and you got to count back how many days you have, and then that's when you know when to plant. Probably around August. That's a good date, sometime in August.
I have actually started beans in July before. I do the Dragon Tongue bush beans. They are 60-day variety, so you can get them right before fall. They are the most delicious beans because they have the cooler nights, and for some reason it just makes the bean just 10 times better. So planting a fall crop of beans is awesome. However, your days are numbered. So
Yep. Perfect advice. Okay, one last thing. Let me show your LinkedIn page. So if you want to sub right here, a lot of great information. LinkedIn has been great for Grow Big TV, and you definitely learned a lot. You definitely get connected to some amazing people.
Yes, I love LinkedIn. So if you guys want to follow me, you can join me there. It's my favorite platform nowadays.
And there's a book update right there.
Yeah.
And is this the house that you're
we're gonna build? Yeah, it's the model that we're building. Yes, it's gonna be like that wraparound porch like that with the lake view. Yeah.
That is so awesome. I love that. And so you could there's comments, videos, images, documents. So go check that out. There's his bio. And our mod's been posting stuff left and right for you. Is there anything else you want to show us before we leave?
Yeah, he's right here.
There he is.
He's right here. Come on. There he is.
There he is.
what a cutie pie.
Yeah, he's cute, huh?
Look at that. Smile.
Mr. Dexter.
I love that. Dogs are your family, cats, dogs, it's family. How long have you had him? How long have you had Dexter?
He is 12 years old, and we got him when he was 2, so 10 years. He was a little rescue. Yeah, he's an Australian Shepherd, and he herds the chickens in the yard. He puts them back to sleep at night, yeah.
That's funny.
What a cutie.
There you go.
Awesome. Well, Yannick, thank you so much for coming on. We learned a lot, and I thought it was amazing because
I had a great time.
A lot of people here have those questions about the GMOs, but everybody's afraid to ask, and you answered them, perfectly and exactly because we learned, because it's a topic conversation with garden channels and stuff, and so we appreciate that. And if you guys could share out this live, that'd be great. And thank you everyone that attended. And
thank you too. You are great hosts, by the way. It's how the show is amazing because of the hosts, so you do a good job.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Yannick. And hopefully we could do this again another year so we could talk about your farm.
Yes, sir. That's the plan.
Maybe when I come visit my nephew, I'm going to have to stop by and do a photo bomb with Dexter.
Do it. Do it.
That'd be great.
Awesome. All right. Good night.
Have a good night. Thank you so much. Well, that was an interesting chat. I thought it was awesome. I hope you guys learned a lot, and I know a lot of you guys have differences because of soil. And thank you for staying with us. But we got to learn these little things. Even if you disagree, it's always good to listen and learn, and you got to do your own thing. So that's important. So thank you guys so much for that. We do have an awesome interview set up next week. So next Tuesday, it's going to be on the soil, all about the soil. So hopefully you guys I hope you guys like what we're going to talk about, and we'll let you guys know who that's going to be. Because as you guys know, I'm all into the guest, and I forgot to give it the future guest because it's set up before, and I totally know all my concentrations here, and that's all my fault because I don't write it down. I can tell you in a second. So where is it? And I tell you what, that Catherine Alexander, it was so freaking awesome, that interview. I loved that. So let me just get to my emails. I just got like 40 emails within the last 2 hours. And just let you guys know, I haven't sent anything out yet because I haven't been home. The only time I'm home is doing this interview and I go back to bed. So, Lonnie, I appreciate that. He says, great show, folks. That's awesome. Just give me 1 second. Oh, my God. I can't believe I got all these messages. That's unbelievable. It's like never ending, Corky, when I go to work. It's like, oh, well, anyway, we'll post it in the chat. I'm not going to find it right now. So before we end, yeah, I guess it's time to sing happy birthday. Yeah, somebody got to sing happy birthday. Where's Dexter? I'm going to totally embarrass myself right now because my son says, Dad, don't sing ever. Never even sing happy birthday. Don't even do that. So, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Corky. Happy birthday to you. And many more.
Thank you, guys. Awesome.
So,
thank you.
So Sunday Funday will be on this week, and more talk about the soil. So it's going to be a lot of soil talk in the next couple of lives, which I go on. And we have great things being planned. Might have some talk about something not about gardening either, about growing YouTube shows and things like that. With maybe somebody that's in the UK that, well, I'm not going to discuss until it's confirmed, but you guys might be blown away by it. Because, yeah, he's on big audiences like TV. So, anyway, everybody have a good night and happy birthday to Corky.
Thanks, guys. Thank you for all the birthday wishes. I appreciate you.
And thank you. It's the Marshmallow Man. He gave away 5 scholarships, 5 memberships, I believe, today. I have no idea who they went to, but congratulations with that.
We love you, Lewis. Thank you.
And thank you for all the members on our channel. We should have, I believe it's 12. Well, it's 17 now. I think we had 12. Now it's 17. It helps us to grow. We're trying to get up to 100 members by the end of the year. So hopefully we can make that happen, so we can get more stuff out to you. And so everybody have a good weekend. I love you guys. And we'll see you around in YouTube streets. Take care, everyone.
Bye, guys.